In 2020, this is how much it costs to run a small trucking company. Just $1.76 per mile. Now, just 2 years later, it costs the same small trucking company almost $3.27 per mile just to break even. And to top it all off, load boards on average are only paying $2.66 per mile. Because of this, obviously, bankruptcies are on the rise, truck drivers are getting laid off, and worst of all, load rates have crashed by more than $1 per mile within just a few months. If we aren't in a trucking recession right now, we're sliding pretty damn fast towards one, which is why in today's video, I'm going to explain why you can't find any good loads and who's to blame for all this mess. Let's start off by looking at this graph that should scare every owner-operator watching this video, because what this graph shows is the number of trucking companies that were forced to shut down over the past few years. As you can see, over 9,000 trucking companies had their authority revoked in May of 2020, and according to some experts, this number is just going to keep climbing in the next few months. But before we start panicking about the future, let me explain how this problem got started in the first place. That's right, March of 2020. What a fun time. I mean, the country was shutting down, grown-ups were fighting each other for toilet paper, and our parents finally figured out how to use Zoom. During this time, even though it seemed like the world was going to collapse, 2020 was a great time to be in the trucking business. Spot rates were through the roof, and I remember personally turning down almost every contract load for a month because I was finding loads on DAT and Truck Stop for $5 per mile. It seemed like all the little guys in the industry had finally struck gold, but when people hear of a gold rush, they all want a piece of it. And this is where the problem first started. When truckers saw the spot rates skyrocket over the pandemic, everyone and their uncle started up a trucking company just to get a piece of the pie without really understanding anything about the trucking industry. All they knew is you could potentially make $8,000 a week driving around the country, and that's really all they needed to hear to jump in ass first. They started financing 10-year-old used trucks for the price of a brand new Volvo, but they didn't care, because this opportunity was going to make them filthy rich, or so they thought. The thing is, this would have worked just fine if 196,000 truckers didn't do the exact same thing. Over 70% of these new authorities that were created over the pandemic were made up of one owner-operator with one truck. These weren't sophisticated businesses, these were just company drivers that didn't have any idea how to run a business and thought they could make a quick buck, completely unaware of the fact that it was all going to come crashing down very soon. As more and more owner-operators started flooding the trucking industry, spot rates slowly started to cool off. But just to speed up this process, Russia decided to invade Ukraine. Well, I think Russia may have had other reasons, but their invasion did create a domino effect that caused diesel prices to hit record highs. Since diesel is one of the most expensive costs of running a trucking company, this was gonna hurt a lot. As I mentioned at the start of this video, it used to cost $1.76 per mile in 2020 to run a trucking company, and only 37 cents per mile accounted for fuel expense. This year, however, it costs around $3.27 per mile to run a trucking company, and 73 cents per mile goes towards just covering fuel expense. Let me dumb it down for you. That's an 86% increase in costs, while load rates have dropped 37% because of all the new owner-operators that joined. But to be fair, we can't put all the blame on new owner-operators. The final nail in the coffin came, however, when the stimulus checks disappeared. I'm sure you've heard inflation is going through the roof right now, but I don't think you understand just how crazy it is. Historically, the average inflation rate in the US has been around 2 to 3%. Right now, it's at 9.1%. The last time inflation was at 9.1% was in 1981, almost half a century ago. Here's why this is a problem. With inflation so high, prices of goods and services are becoming much more expensive. This is leading to people spending less and saving more. This sucks for trucking companies because if people aren't buying anything, there's less loads to move. And to top it all off, almost 200,000 new carriers have joined the industry, causing the supply and demand scale to basically fall to zero. So at the end of the day, the big problem that we're facing is that there's no supply and a ton of demand that can't be met. But if you're an owner-operator that's watching this video and you're getting a little worried, it's not too late to save your company. There is a solution to surviving every trucking recession like this, but many of you independent owner-operators might not like it. My personal recommendation would be to just lease onto a bigger carrier if you're an owner-operator. Even if you have your own MC and DOT, just lease onto another carrier for a year or so and take advantage of the fuel surcharge that they receive by getting loads directly from shippers. At Guild 22, personally, we have a 100% fuel surcharge pass-through rate for our leased on owner operators, which means if fuel prices go up and we charge the shipper extra money to cover our fuel expense, you will get 100% of that extra fuel money to pay for your diesel. This seems like common sense and that's something that every carrier should do, but most carriers don't pay you anything, just so you know. So if this is something that interests you and you're thinking of leasing on with us, just submit an application at www.guild22.com/careers and I will schedule a call with you very soon. Even if you don't want to lease on with us, at least watch this video right here where I talk about how I negotiate load rates with brokers. You know, you can use the tactics in that video to start making a little more money and hopefully survive this recession that we're all about to go through. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts on what's happening in the trucking industry right now, and I'll see you guys in the next video.